Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Devin, and today I'll be sharing with you all the birth story of my son, who I just recently had on July 19th. His name is Theodore, and I'm so in love. I did post a birth vlog, so you can see the actual footage of like after my water broke and all the way up until me actually delivering my son. So you actually get to see that process. If you haven't seen it and you're interested, I'll make sure to link it down below. It will definitely help this video make a lot more sense as well, so you can see sort of like in the moment of what was going on. But I wanted to film this video so I can provide a little bit more detail for you guys on just what was going on from start to finish, what was going through my mind, how everything was feeling for me, because you obviously can only know so much just by watching the actual footage. And so I loved that video that I posted, so I highly recommend that you watch that. But today we're just going to dive deep. I'm going to be just sharing with y'all everything. I wrote notes in my phone so that I could get an idea of like the timeline and the details of like dilation and all that kind of stuff. So I absolutely loved watching these birth vlogs and birth story videos as I was leading up to my actual labor and delivery. It really helped just give me a better understanding of the different things that could go on and just sort of what to expect, and sort of normalized the experience for me, just knowing that I'm not alone and all of these other women went through this process as well. So I'm hoping to do that by sharing my story as well, to hopefully provide some information and encouragement for you all. If you're new here, my name is Devin, and I'd love if you'd consider subscribing by clicking that red subscribe button. I would love for you to see some of the future videos that I have. I have a ton coming for you, and now that I'm a mom, we'll have a lot of mom content on my channel that I'm very excited about. I'd also love if you'd give this video a thumbs up, and if you're not doing so already, you can follow me on Instagram. It's just Life by Devin, and you can see a little bit more of my day-to-day life. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into my birth story. So if you guys have been following along with my pregnancy journey here on YouTube, you've seen that I have been posting monthly pregnancy updates. So on my channel, you see months 1 through 8, but you don't see month 9 because I actually went into labor at exactly 38 weeks. So that's something that I do want to go ahead and point out. The last pregnancy update I did went until I think 35 or 36 weeks. So I did want to go ahead and let you guys know what was going on those last couple of weeks. I did, starting at 37 weeks, start to try and do some natural induction type of methods that were approved by my OBGYN, because of the fact that my baby boy was measuring really large the last few months of my pregnancy. In fact, I think it was like the 90th percentile or something like that. So he was measuring very big, and my doctor was really worried that if he continued to measure big, that I would have trouble delivering vaginally. And so she had brought up the possibility of C-section as something that we might have to schedule if he continued to measure large. So I had an appointment at 35 weeks. He was still measuring big. We decided that at 38 weeks we'd see how he was doing then and sort of go from there. I, of course, have been wanting a vaginal delivery all along. I did not want to do a C-section. Nothing wrong with C-sections. That is still a beautiful experience and can be. But for me, for my first baby, I wanted to try and deliver vaginally. So basically, at my 36-week appointment, I had another sonogram to go ahead and see where baby was measuring, and he was still measuring really big. I think at that point, he was already measuring 8 pounds and a few ounces. And so yeah, we were all definitely like, okay, still measuring big. And so again, C-section was brought up as a possibility, and I was definitely voicing to my doctor that I'd really try and want to do something vaginally, but of course want to do whatever is safest for baby. And so I asked her if we could, of course, wait till the next sonogram to make that decision, and she was totally on board. So I also asked her if there was some natural like induction type of things that I could be doing at home to sort of see if maybe he could come a little bit sooner, still full term, right, but just a little bit sooner than like 40 weeks, let's say, so he's not continuing to grow big. And so she gave me the thumbs up, since I was almost full term, to go ahead and start doing that. So what I started to do was take evening primrose oil orally and vaginally once a day, And then I started drinking like 3 cups of red raspberry leaf tea a day. I was eating like spicy foods, doing curb walks, bouncing on the yoga ball, a lot of different things like that that she said was all safe and fine to go ahead and start doing after my 36-week appointment. So that is what I did because I wanted to just see if I could start to dilate on my own, or at least soften my cervix, to see if, you know, I could go into labor on my own, or if I did have to get an induction, maybe it'd be more favorable, and just all to avoid a C-section. So I started all of those things. So then at my 37-week appointment, that is when you're considered full term, she went ahead and did her first cervical check. So I'd not had any up until that point, of course. So when she checked me, I was actually 2 centimeters dilated and 80% effaced. So I was stoked. I was so happy because for an entire week, I had been doing all of those things every single day to try and soften my cervix and sort of get things moving along. So that was so encouraging. I can't even tell you. And so I had asked her at that point if it was okay to do a membrane sweep. She said, normally I don't start doing those till like 38 weeks, but since you are full term and that's something that you want to do and we're trying to avoid a C-section, I'm absolutely okay with doing that. So she did give me a membrane sweep. Oh my gosh, talk about uncomfortable. It was definitely more uncomfortable than I thought. It is not like a cervical check where they just go in like really deep. They go in and it like, there's a lot going on, okay? So, I just remember being like, ooh, like loudly, not yelling, just like almost like grunting. So it was very uncomfortable, but it only lasted, I wanted less than 30 seconds for sure, probably about 10 seconds. So that was done. She said to expect some bleeding and some cramping, and you know, membrane sweeps are not guaranteed to put you into labor, but she told me just to keep an eye out for some like, you know, leaking fluid, some bright red blood, anything like that. So again, I was 37 weeks at that point, and I did start to experiencing you know, some spotting, but it was more like darker red, like rusty color. I did lose a little bit more of my mucus plug the following day. It was quite big, and it was actually bloody show as well, is what it appeared to be. So I knew that there was a possibility that something could happen, but at the same time, I also knew that, you know, mucus plug can continue to come out up until labor actually happens. So that was exactly, I think I was like 37 weeks and 2 days actually at that appointment. And I think that was on a Tuesday. So I continued to go on about my week, and I didn't really have anything crazy go on other than like Braxton Hicks I felt like were pretty consistent that week. I was having like, you know, the normal like back pain and fatigue and all that good stuff. That is so fun with pregnancy. So every day I continued all those natural induction stuff. So everything that I had talked about before, I continued to do that with the thumbs up from my OB. So at exactly 38 weeks, which was a Sunday on July 18th, my husband and I decided to go to Target because we had been doing like the daily like curb walks outside. Like we've been doing long walks like twice a day, and it's really hot here in Texas because it's summer, and so we decided to go to Target. It was actually my husband's idea for us to just be in an air-conditioned area, and he knows Target is one of my happy places, and so that's what we did. We went to Target, and for about almost like an hour, we just like walked around all the different aisles, continuing to get moving, just so I can be a little bit more comfortable while still being active. And so at that point, I was having some pretty consistent Braxton Hicks contractions, which was like, that's interesting. So I put them into my phone, started to time them. They were very sporadic. Like sometimes it would say, maybe think about going to the hospital. Sometimes it would say like, oh, your body's just practicing going into labor. And it was funny, actually, before we actually walked into Target, my husband had said, he said something like, watch, your water is going to break at Target. And I was like, oh my gosh. Because it's just funny because Target's like my favorite place. So anyways, we're walking, and again, like later on, because I had said I was timing my Braxton Hicks contractions, he had said, you know, watch, all of a sudden it's just gonna be like psh, like water, and we just like laughed it off. So we went to go check out. We just got like a couple of random things, and as we were walking to the register, all of a sudden I felt like a little bit of a gush, and I was like, what on earth? And so when I say gush though, it was like a small gush. It wasn't like a gush. It was like something a little bit coming out of my, area down there. And it almost felt like I had peed myself a little. And so I literally was like, Christian, I feel like I just peed myself. And he was like, what? He was like, oh no. And I was like, yeah, that's weird. And I'd heard that sometimes you lose control of like your bladder when it comes towards the end of pregnancy. That hadn't really happened to me up to this point. So I was like, maybe that's just it. But anyways, I was like, okay. So then we were actually checking out like at the register, and it happened again. And I was like, oh no, I need to go to the restroom. So I was like, more just came out. He was like, oh gosh. And so I went to the restroom and I peed, and there was definitely liquid on my underwear. And so I was like, okay, so did I just pee myself? I don't really know. My husband even texted me like, is everything okay? Like while I was in there. And so I came out and I was like, yeah, I have no idea what that was. And so I had looked it up before, and basically for you to know whether it's your water or if it's pee is, number one, if the liquid's clear, if there is like any smell to it that like smells like pee, and also if it continues to trickle out. So you can either like put a pad on and watch like what liquid gets in there, or you can like take off your underwear and see if it like starts running down your leg. So we went home. It was like less than 10 minutes from where we were at. And so I came home, went to the restroom again, and then took my pants off. And as I walked around, I remember going to the kitchen, all of a sudden liquid continues to trickle down my leg. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And Christian was there, and I was like, are you seeing this? And it was clear liquid. It did not smell like pee. I was like, babe, is this pee? He was like, that does not look like pee, babe. And I was, oh my gosh, freaking out. And so it happened again. I literally had to take paper towels to like get it because it started to drip on the ground, which is gross, I know. So anyways, that happened, and he and I were just like, OMG. So we decided to go ahead and call my doctor. So I called my doctor. This was Sunday evening, and it was 7 o'clock when we were at Target. So it was like 15 or 20 at this point, and I called my OB, and I knew it was going to go to like the after hours line, but she was actually on call, so they actually transferred me to her. And I told her what was going on. She's like, yep, it sounds like that was your water rupturing, so let's go ahead and get you to labor and delivery and get you checked out to see if that's what it is, and they can do a little test and all that. So oh my gosh, that's when we kicked into gear. And that is when I start filming my labor and delivery birth vlog. So again, if you have not seen that, you can go ahead and watch that right now, so you can sort of continue on, since I just gave you the little backstory. So at that point, she said, there's no rush because you said that you're not having consistent contractions, and you're not in any pain or discomfort. Then we have some time, so go ahead, you can take your shower, you can get some food, get things packed up, and then head over here when you're ready, and we'll be waiting for you. So that's what we did. Of course I was freaking out, but my husband went to go grab food while I took a shower. I got ready, I did my hair, I did my makeup. We had already had our hospital bags all packed and ready to go. My husband was just adding a few things like some toiletries and stuff to his. And so I was checking my list that I had made to make sure I didn't forget anything. My husband grabbed torchies, tacos, because everybody says to eat before you go, because they don't let you eat after you're like admitted. At least they don't let me eat. So we ate our torchies. We arranged for our pets to be taken care of while we were going to be gone. And all at this point, as this was going on, I still wasn't contracting, but I was continuing to leak fluid. I had put on a maxi pad, and I had filled up a maxi pad in less than an hour, probably in like 45 minutes. So I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is it, guys. So yeah, so at that point we went ahead and left our house around like 9:45 or so p.m. and headed to the hospital. Luckily it's like less than 15 minutes from our house. And we got there, they were ready for us. They took us straight to our actual labor and delivery room. I thought we were gonna have to go through triage still or something before we actually got admitted, but I guess based off of what I told them, they believed me that my water had actually broke. And so I went in, and they went ahead and gave me a gown, so at that point, we went into the room. They gave me a gown to change into. I did change into theirs initially because I didn't know if I was going to stay. And so I changed into theirs. She went ahead and did a cervical check to see where I was, and also did a little swab. She did this swab, and it did come back immediately that my water did rupture, so I was officially admitted, which was crazy. And she did confirm I was still 2 centimeters and 80% effaced, so nothing had really changed, which I thought was a little surprising, but it was fine. They also put me on like a monitor to see how I was contracting, and confirmed I was not having consistent contractions. So at that point they told me, listen, your water broke. You normally have about 24 hours before you're at risk at infection. And so because you're not contracting on your own, well, we can sort of watch you to see if you make any progress. But if not, we recommend going ahead and putting you on Pitocin to get the ball rolling, since you're still only 2 centimeters and 80% effaced. So I said, okay. They watched me and monitored me a little bit more, and still nothing. And they did ask if I wanted the epidural. So, of course, I said yes. That was something my husband and I decided, was to get an epidural. I just thought it would be making the experience a little bit better, because my tolerance for pain is really low, and I just wanted it to be a calm experience to welcome my baby into the world, which I'm not saying you can't do like unmedicated labor, but I just knew it was something that would work best for me, and I'm very happy that I went with that decision. So at that point, they said, okay, well, the anesthesiologist is right outside. And I was like, oh, okay, so when do we get it? They're like, well, the Pitocin is going to amp things up really big, and it's just, you haven't been having contractions. They're going to probably be pretty painful, since you're not really easing your way into it. And so we recommend getting it now, which was so crazy because that's not something that I expected. I always thought I was going to be in like extreme pain by the time I got the epidural, but I was really comfortable. And so that was really crazy. They had told me, okay, like if you're ready, we can go ahead and let him know. And I was like, okay, sounds good. So he was there like less than 30 minutes later and went ahead and put in the epidural. And that really went way better than I expected. Honestly, guys, if you have somebody who's experienced, and if you just go into it with like the bar of like, okay, this is going to hurt, but I'm going to remain calm, it really won't be that bad. Because I was, of course, freaking out like internally, like, oh gosh, I'm about to get a giant needle in my back. This is super risky, but I just tried to pray and relax my body and trust that I was going to be taken care of by this anesthesiologist. Before he actually came in, I asked the nurse who was taking care of me, who was amazing, hey, like, can you tell me a little bit about this guy? And she said, you know what, he's been practicing more than you and I have been alive. He's really awesome, really stellar. I was like, okay, so you would get an epidural from him? And she's like, absolutely. So it made me feel better going into it. The anesthesiologist was so nice. He was super like positive and talking to me and my husband the whole time through it, getting to know us. It just made the process really easy for me. So I really enjoyed that. The actual epidural took like less than 10 minutes, like from start to finish, of him like prepping me and putting it in and putting in tape and stuff all back on me. So yeah, the epidural definitely was a lot better than I expected and really went very smoothly. So after the epidural, they told me they were going to wait just a little bit to, oh, I did forget to mention, before they did the epidural, they did give me, I think, like a couple bag of fluids to get into my system before they actually administered the epidural. I was also group B strep negative, so I didn't have to get antibiotic fluids, which was nice. And then after the epidural, they were still monitoring me up until then and still confirmed that nothing was happening contraction wise, and so we went ahead and put in the Pitocin. So I think I had gotten the epidural around like 1 or so. Let me go ahead and look at my notes. So yeah, I got the epidural around 12:30. Everything was going well, and then I started to feel nauseous about like 45 minutes later or so, and so I ended up calling the nurse because I was like, maybe I just need some Zofran or something. So I pressed the button, and as soon as that happened, my doctor had come in with my nurse, and I told my nurse, yeah, I'm not feeling so good. Is there something that you can give me? And literally she grabbed a barf bag and passed it to me, and I immediately threw up like right when my doctor came in, which I thought was so funny. I was like, great, she just came in and I'm over here like throwing up. So yeah, there was all my torchies, which was so lovely. But as soon as I had thrown up, I felt so much better. Now what had happened is I told her, I was like, oh, okay, I feel so much better. She's like, yeah, so we just looked and your blood pressure dropped pretty significantly. So that is where that nausea came from. And so that happens sometimes with epidural. And so she gave me some ephedrine to pump that back up, as well as some Zofran too, to help with the nausea. So that was handled really quickly, and I asked if it had affected baby, and she said no, just mine. Yeah, that was an interesting little way that I reacted to the epidural, but it was honestly totally fine. It lasted just for a few minutes. So the doctor came in, she went ahead and checked me and confirmed where I was, still 20% and 80% effaced. She did say there was a small sac still left in my water, and said she was going to go ahead and rupture it to go ahead and continue on through the process, which I was totally fine with. So she went ahead and done that. And all throughout this time, water was still continuing to come out. So they had me like on this like pad in the hospital bed, and continued to change it out. And I could like feel, of course, like the water, which was weird. And then she also put in an internal monitor into me to track how I was reacting to the Pitocin, so they could monitor more of my contractions. So at that point I was getting numb, and once I was fully numb, they went ahead and the nurse put in a catheter because I was not going to be able to get out of bed to go to the restroom on my own. And it was really nice because I did not feel a thing, like honestly nothing, which was really nice. And I didn't even feel, I forgot to mention, when my doctor like broke my water and stuff, I did not feel anything because of the epidural. So that was really awesome. After they put it in the catheter, they went ahead and put me on my side and gave me a peanut ball in between my legs. And they started the Pitocin around 2:30, and basically told me, listen, we're going to come in every hour or so to change you from side to side into different positions. And we're just going to let the Pitocin do its work, just try and get some rest, try and relax. So my husband had got his bed all set up in the room, and I was feeling good. I was very comfortable. The epidural was really nice. It just basically, I don't know, from like, I don't know, the belly down or waist down. I did not feel anything really. It just felt sort of like everything was asleep in a sense. So pretty crazy experience for sure. So yeah, they just continued to move me throughout the night to see how I was doing, and they're seeing that my contractions started to pick up. And then around 6:30 in the morning, they checked me again, and I was 4 centimeters dilated and 90% effaced. And at that point, I was a -2 station, which is still where I was. I forgot to mention in the beginning when they had checked me. So yeah, the station had changed, but I did get a little bit of progression with centimeters and effacement there, which was nice. So at that point, I remember like the nurse coming in to like set up like the delivery table to like get things ready with that. And since it was now the morning and during the day, she said instead of an hour, she's going to come in every 30 minutes to flip me from side to side to again help just get things moving along. Because when you don't have the epidural, you don't have to be hooked up to things, and you can obviously stand on your own and you're able to be more active. Since you're like basically stuck to the bed with an epidural, they have to switch you from position to position to try and help with progression. And it was just really nice because I could obviously see like the contractions were, you know, getting more significant, but I didn't really feel pain, only just pressure. And so the contractions just felt like my stomach was tightening, but nothing like intense. Around 8:45 a.m. I did end up pressing the button for more epidural, which I had not done at all up until this point. She had given me the button and said, hey, if you ever are starting to feel some pain, press it. So I just started to feel the contractions more, like the tightness felt more of like a pinching almost, and it was just like, I felt like I had to breathe a little more through them. And so I did decide to go ahead and press that button. And it was so weird. As soon as I pressed it, it feels like freezing liquid going through your spine, like instantaneously, which was so weird to feel. And then I definitely felt like more like calm and relaxed after that medicine kicked in, which is really, really quickly. Since it was the morning, my husband went and I told him to go get some breakfast for himself and like some coffee because he loves coffee. So he went to a nice place since we were in Dallas, picked himself up a nice cup of coffee and got some Chick-fil-A breakfast. And I was fine. It's not like I was starving or anything at this point. I was really just very comfortable and relaxed. And then around 10 a.m., they went ahead and checked me again, and I was 6 centimeters, still 90% effaced, and still a -2 station. So my cervix was continuing to dilate, but not a lot of progress otherwise. Now, when she had checked me, she did say that she saw some deceleration in my baby. And so she did decide to give me an oxygen mask, which I was like a little nervous about, but I just tried to remain calm. So she just gave me the mask, and I just was breathing in oxygen for a while just to make sure baby was okay and comfortable. So I don't know how long I did that. I honestly do not remember. Maybe a couple hours or so. The nurse did talk to me and my husband, just letting me know, hey, you know, we're gonna have the doctor come in a couple of hours, maybe around lunchtime. She's gonna check you, and just keep in mind that she may bring up the possibility of C-section because, you know, we have that 24-hour window, and it just depends on how you're progressing. And if he can't do it on his own, then there might be the possibility of a C-section, but that does not mean that you have to do it. I just want to give you a warning. And even if we go to the 24-hour mark and we are, you know, baby, and you are not in distress, you can still continue to try to deliver vaginally if there's no signs of infection and things like that. So I was like, okay, like, and I remember just praying with my husband, just that hopefully we can continue to progress and hopefully have the baby vaginally. And I honestly was like, gosh, we're gonna be here all day. I just remember thinking like, only 6 centimeters, and I still wasn't 100% effaced. I still was a -2 station. I was like, how on earth is this going to happen? So yeah, that was 10 when she had checked me, and after all of this, it was probably like 11:30 or so, and she said the doctor would come in around lunchtime. Well, she came in around 1 p.m., the doctor. It was not my OB, unfortunately. My OB had like back-to-back shifts, and so she needed some rest, and so she was not on call. So I had the on-call doctor, who turned out to be absolutely amazing. It was so fun. So she came in, she checked me. I was so nervous. I was like, please God, like hopefully there's some progression. As soon as she had checked me, guys, she said, all right, you're ready to have this baby. I can't even tell you that feeling. It was the most amazing feeling. I immediately started like tearing up. I got choked up, was so emotional because I didn't think that I would hear that day. Like I literally thought that I was gonna get stalled, that I wasn't gonna continue to progress, because it was just taking a while, especially with all the Pitocin that they were giving me. I forgot the level that they were up to, but it was pretty high. And so I was just like, geez, they're giving me all of this and I still am only 6 centimeters. But guys, she said I was ready to have this baby. And it was just the best. So at that point, she had told me, you know, since this is your first baby, that it's probably going to take a while to push. And so you're going to be pushing with your nurse. And then once you get close, then she'll call me back in to help deliver your baby. So she didn't even mention C-section or anything like that, which was really cool because apparently between like 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. my body went from a 6 centimeters to 10 centimeters and everything else all complete. So that was just such a huge blessing and gift from God to just have that happen for us. So at that point, the doctor had left. We had got, you know, things all sorted out, and around 1:20, we started to push. So it was just me, my husband, and my nurse in the room, and she coached me through the pushing. And again, you can see my very first push in my birth vlog, where she's telling me how to do it. My husband's holding my leg, she's holding my other leg, and coaching me through all of it. So little did I know that I'd be there for a while. I mean, they did tell me that I could be pushing for a while. They said it could be anywhere from 30 minutes to 3 hours. So I'm like, oh, cool. So yeah, we started to push, and it was very weird. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I never pushed out a baby before. They just said, try to, you know, think of it as like you taking a really large poop or something like that. And so essentially, I had just been pushing on my back in the beginning. I tried to ask if we could do different positions. So we tried doing on the side, but baby honestly did not like that. His heart rate would like be a little weird when I would do different positions. It seems like he liked me on my back the best, is what the nurse had told me, which was a little disappointing because I really wanted to try and have him on my side to see if I could help prevent tearing or something, but it's fine. Everything worked out. And so I ended up pushing for 2.5 hours, guys. And so she was telling me, listen, you're pushing perfectly. He just is not coming out like very much each time you're pushing. She was like, it's like a little turtle, like coming out a little bit and going back in, coming out a little bit, going back in. And she said that I was making progress. It just wasn't like a lot. And so, again, like after the first hour, I was like, oh my gosh, like, is this like still okay? And I kept asking her, am I doing everything good? And she just assured me, you're pushing perfectly. He's still progressing, just baby steps. And so we just need to continue to push him down. And I, again, was getting nervous, because I wanted to be able to have him, and it just seemed like it was taking a long time, because you hear these stories that, oh, I only, pushed for like 5 minutes, or it only took me like 3 pushes and the baby was here, and I'm like an hour in. But we continued to push forward. Sometimes I would rest. It was weird because I would have like 2 small contractions and then a big contraction, and during those big contractions I would make the most progress. So it was just an interesting situation, but finally, she kept telling me like, I feel the baby, I see the baby's hair, and tell me all these things. And then finally the nurse told me, all right, stop right there. I'm going to go ahead and call the doctor. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, your baby's like right there. The head's right there. We're going to go ahead and hopefully have this baby. And I, again, just started crying and being emotional. I could not believe it. I was like, I really, again, did not think that I was going to finally be able to push my baby out on my own. And so you can then see in my birth vlog just me sitting there emotional, waiting for the doctor to come in, just like not believing that this was finally here. So the doctor finally came in, and it was so weird. She like said, okay, you're gonna have to hold it. It's gonna feel like a lot of pressure because you're not gonna push until the doctor gets here. And luckily I only had like one bigger contraction, and like the doctor came in like right when it happened, and you can hear her in the vlog just being like, oh my gosh, like you've been doing so great, you look awesome. And she was just such a cheerleader, and I loved her, and it just made the experience that much better. And so anyways, she was like, you're ready to have this baby. And a bunch of nurses, I remember, came in like all at once, and I really was not paying attention. My legs are spread wide open, my husband's right there, and he's getting really like excited and emotional as well, just like, oh my gosh, he's about to be here. So she's like, oh yeah, you're gonna have this baby. I give you three contractions. And I was like, oh my God. And you can see I'm like getting more emotional because I didn't realize it was gonna be that soon. And so yeah, she actually called it right. It took 3 contractions. The first 2 were small contractions, and the last one was a big one. And so the first 2, she said, oh my gosh, you're pushing awesome. You're doing great. You're going to have this baby. You're almost there. And so after the first 2 smaller contractions, we had a long break, which I think was amazing. My baby gave it to me. God gave it to me. It was just like exactly what my body needed to get that rest. And that big contraction came, and I said, okay, I feel it coming. And she's like, yep, you're right. You're having a contraction. And so I push. And it took a few pushes to get him out, and she was like, this is it, you're gonna have this baby, you're gonna have this baby, keep going. And she, you can hear her on the vlog just totally motivating me. And then all of a sudden, and by the way guys, up until this point, 0 pain, no pain at all. I just feel pressure, and I was able to feel what was going on down there, in a sense that like something was coming out. Like I could feel the doctor's like hands at some points, like when they were like, rubbing around, but not like feeling like pain or anything like that. Just I could feel that there was pressure all in those areas. So it was really like the epidural worked perfectly to where I could still feel stuff down there, but no pain. So anyways, I kept going, and finally I pushed out my baby, and she immediately put him on my chest, and it was the most magical feeling ever. I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. And you can see that I get super emotional in the birth vlog, but it was absolutely the best moment of my life. Seeing my son be delivered and to be okay. He went on my chest and he was so beautiful. He started to look at me immediately, me and my husband, and I didn't even expect that, and he started to cry soon after. They like had to suction some stuff out of his mouth, which was fine. But he was perfect, and me and my husband were just over the moon. He even got emotional, and he's not a crier, and it was just absolutely magical, and such an answered prayer for him to come the way that he did, and to be okay, for me to be okay, and it was just amazing. So yeah, you can see exactly what goes on after that. You know, they're cleaning him off on me. I told him I wanted him to stay on my chest while they did all this stuff, which was really great. They delayed the cord clamping about a minute or so because, you know, he was out, like his head was out for a bit as I was pushing. And so my husband was able to cut his cord, which you got to see. And later I'd actually found out when he was delivered, the cord was wrapped around his head twice. So that may have been part of the reason why it was taking a while for him to come out. They also think he was positioned weird, almost like looking to the side and with his hand by his face, because he was pretty bruised up when he came out. Poor thing. He actually had like a little indentation from one of the monitors inside, and he had some bruises, so we think just because of the way he was positioned and with his hands and everything. I felt so bad, but he was completely okay and healthy, which is all that we wanted. And so yeah, I got to have him on my chest for like at least an hour or so before they did anything, which was so amazing. I like put my gown down eventually to have him like right there, skin to skin, and I was just soaking it all up. It was just absolutely wonderful. Later on, we, you know, did breastfeeding, and he latched basically right away, which was so nice. And I just couldn't believe it. It was a dream come true, and I absolutely loved just the whole experience. It was not easy. 2.5 hours of pushing is no joke. But yeah, I ended up having him at 3:53 p.m. is when he entered this world. So started pushing at like 1:20, and 3:53 is when I had him. So yeah, it was just amazing, guys. I should also mention that I did end up having a tear. It was a 2nd-degree tear, and you know, it is what it is. I was fully expecting to tear going into it since I am a first-time mom, and it was okay. She stitched me up while she was talking to me. My placenta, I forgot to tell you, went out pretty quickly after the baby came out, so everything was fine there. And yeah, she stitched me up while me and my husband were soaking up all the moment with my baby boy, and yeah, so it was wonderful, guys. As far as everything after that, I plan to do a little like postpartum type of video. Today is actually 6 weeks from when I went into labor, so I think that's really cool that I'm filming this video just 6 weeks after. I've been able to just like soak it all in and really soak in my baby and focus on him first before filming any more videos. So this is my first video that I'm actually filming after having him, which is crazy to think. But yeah, so tomorrow I'll be 6 weeks postpartum. And so I plan on filming a video for you guys just about my whole postpartum journey, like just sort of recovery and that whole process, because it was definitely a lot different than my labor and delivery. So we'll definitely go into that on that video, so stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel so that you don't miss that video and the other future videos that I have planned for you guys. But yeah, and as a reminder, if you've not watched that vlog, I'll have it linked down below. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate you sticking to the end, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.